Hello and welcome to The Hacktivist, and today I'm going to be working on making some alternate IDs. I've already done a lot of the work in Illustrator and built out the card, but right now I wanted to make a video showing how I can make the cards, the physical cards. I am planning on printing these out professionally, but I know some people across the world might be interested in the ability to have these cards and be able to print them on their own. So I wanted to show the technique that I am trying to figure out and use to print these cards at my local printing store, and then how I cut them and put them together. So as you can see here, I have the key here was I built out the actual card in Illustrator, the graphics and whatnot. And then what I did here is I brought it over to InDesign. And the nice thing about InDesign is that I'm able to put my cut marks in and all that kind of stuff really easily. So this card right here is like 2.73 inches by 3.73 inches. The actual Netrunner size of Netrunner cards is a little less than 2.5. It's like 2.4 something, but I'm making my cards at 2.5. But what we do here is we want to bleed over to 2.73 so that we have a little bit of room to make nice cuts. So what I did here is I put out my markers right here so that it was 2.5 inches wide, and then I made my image a little bigger with that in Illustrator to be able to have this kind of extra room. So you can see how I'm going to be cutting along this blue line. And then what I did is there's a nice little script here inside of InDesign that allows you to be able to add these little marks. And all you have to, I can just show you where that is real quick. If you go under Window, Utilities, Scripts, there's a nice little scripts, oops, wrong thing. There's a nice little thing called scripts. You can click here and it's called crop marks. And what it will do is you select the object that you want to crop. So what I did is I just went and I actually made a box that's the size that I wanted. And then I selected and hit crop marks, and it added my little crop marks. So handy little tool. If you just look up on the internet crop marks, it can show you how to make those. Having that is really helpful for when you want to cut, to make sure that you can cut straight lines. So once I put this together, you need to export it out. So I'm going to show you how I exported it. Just come here to export, and I'll just override it, it's fine. And you can leave these settings the same, but then you're going to go to the marks and bleeds, and you want to select use document bleed settings and then also the crop marks. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you some crop marks, and it's going to allow these to kind of show up so you can see them. Once you export it, you're going to go ahead and take your PDF that you have. So let me pull that up for you real quick. You're going to, let me go to my documents. Here's the PDF and here's the front. So you're just going to take this over to your local print store and have them print it off. When you print it, you want to be really careful though, because a lot of times when you put it in the printer, it's going to scale back to give them some room. So you want to make sure that they print it at 100% or actual size. Otherwise the card's going to be really small. I had an example where I went to the store, and you can see here with this card, I ended up, I totally spaced it, and they printed it and it had shrunk it, so it's not the right size. So actual size. Once you get those printed, you'll want to, what I like to do is I have the front and the back. So I made one for the front and the back. And one thing that what I'm using here is I'm using a a linen paper to be able to do this. So let me show you here. So linen has like kind of a nice texture to it, and I got the 65-pound linen paper. What I like to do is there's two sides to the linen paper. There's like a smoother side, and then there's the rougher side. For the front of the card, what I did is I did the smooth side, and then the back of the card I did the rougher side. I think you can do either or. I thought since it had these like kind of more detailed images, it looked better to have the smoother, and so this one maybe allows you to kind of grab it a little bit better. It's kind of just your own personal preference, but I thought this was this is the way I ended up doing it. You can see here, let me show you kind of some of the first test ones that I did. So here's the one that actually turned out too small. Got a few of them. And then, so one of my early ones was this one. I redesigned the logo. I had printed it on that coarser side, and I didn't like it as much. And I printed it on a printer at work that does a good job, but it kind of flaked off. And you can see here with my null as well, they were kind of flaking. So I didn't want to, Steve didn't look as bad. He didn't flake as bad, and I hadn't put the backs on yet. But what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking this 65-pound, what do they call it? This, let me grab it here, linen paper. I can show you what it looks like. 65-pound or 176-gram paper. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gluing it together. And when we glue it together, it's a little bit thicker than a normal Netrunner card. I have some right here. They're a little thinner, but it still has a good like kind of pop. It's a little thicker, but has a good pop. It feels pretty sturdy. Since it's the ID, you're not going to be shuffling it through your deck, so I figured it would make a good alternate ID. Actually, before I go, I wanted to show you my sticker maker and how this works. This is a really nice way to be able to get the adhesive on the back. So right here is the sticker maker. What I have is a Xyron 900. I actually found this on Craigslist for like 20 bucks. The adhesive, I get the permanent adhesive, and it's what actually cost me the most money. It's, 20 to 30 bucks for the adhesive, and it has about 400 feet, so it allows me to make a lot of stickers. This is what I use to make all sorts of different things. Toss it up here. Okay, so I am going to put the adhesive on this piece right here, and all I do is I just shove it through the feeder like this, and it's going to put the adhesive on this side, which is all locked down. And all I do is I just run it through here, cranking it. Once it's all the way through, I just cut it off. And it puts this like kind of plasticky thing on the back, and then this piece of plastic coating. And what I'm going to do is just take off this coating like this, throw that away, and this will just peel off now like a sticker, and it has the adhesive right there. And so what I'm going to do with my light table is I'm just going to put it straight down, and I got to be really careful because this is a permanent, and it's going to give me trouble otherwise if I mess it up. So I almost want to lay it down perfect right away. So this is a great machine. I use this all the time for all sorts of projects. So here I got a little cutting mat. Before I actually glue the pieces together, I wanted to trim off one of these edges because it's going to be hard for me to line it up, and so I want to have a little bit of edge here to look at. Typically it's better to, if you're going to make a cut with an X-Acto knife, it's better to use a metal ruler, but since I don't have one right now, this is just going to have to do. So I'm just going to make a nice cut here. Not too bad. Don't need to press too hard. That should be good for there. Make sure I'm all lined up. I prefer to use an X-Acto knife for these type of cuts. A paper cutter is nice, but what it does a lot of times is you can't see as well, and you can't be as precise. Make sure I'm getting this, because I need to push a little harder. That should be good right there. Perfect. That looks pretty good. Ooh, I kind of got a little wonky there. That's okay, I can clean that up. That one's okay. This one looks pretty good as well. And so those are pretty good straight lines. I'm also going to cut here just a little bit off at the top, just so that I have a corner to kind of reference. Ultimately, I'm going to be cutting these off again. This is just to help me. Oh shoot, I did that wrong. What I want to do is actually want to cut along So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to actually cut off my cut marks here. I'm going to just be cutting along right along my green edge to help me to be able to line up a little better. That's where I should have cut. I can still fix this and this will be fine, but I just want to make sure I get that one instead. Yeah, that's much better, because now what I can do is I can line that corner up. And I'm going to do the same thing here across the top, so that I have a nice edge to be able to line up when I put down this glued piece down. I'm going to be cutting off a lot of the excess anyways. This just makes it a little bit easier for me to line up. So I'm just cutting off the top and then one of the corners. So now I have this really nice true edge right here that I can use to lay onto the back of the card. Okay, now that I have it glued together, you can see it's glued together on both sides. What I did is I grabbed a rolling pin from the kitchen and we are going to do some rolling. I want to kind of protect it, so I got an extra piece of just scrap paper that I have, an extra piece of paper that I got. Looks like it's on there pretty tight. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spray a light adhesive to it. I'm actually unsure if we even need it. I did it on these other cards, but what I found was they actually absorbed a lot of the adhesive, so it might be useful just to do a single coat, or maybe 2 coats. So I'm going to go spray 2 coats right now and just see how it goes. This one, I put like tons on because it just kept absorbing in, and it smells a little funny, and I don't think it was actually worth it. It doesn't actually add anything to it. But the back one I only sprayed maybe twice, and that one looks actually pretty good. So I'm going to do that. Okay, I've now sprayed 2 very thin layers of clear coat on it. think it's pretty good. I think any more is just not going to be good for you. So now what we want to do is we're going to cut the cards out and give it to see how they look. So now we can work on an individual card. What I like to do is I like to actually cut the front one, because what do I want to do? I want to do one of these ones that have all my marks. We'll start off with an easy one. Something like this guy. This guy's a nice and easy one. Has all my marks here still for me. So these lines here that are set up are right. They're perfectly aligned to be able to cut the card out exactly. The problem that you run into when you cut with a knife here and these cut marks is if I cut right here, I remove these 2 marks. And then if I cut there, I remove those 2 marks. And by the time I'm all the way around, I have no cut marks to make my final cut. So what I like to do is I like to make a cut here and try and save that one. So I line them up, and then I don't actually start up here cutting. I'm going to start down here below my dot, like almost even like right on this horizontal one, because I want to save this. I don't want to cut it off. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to stop right before that guy, because I want to, you can even just kind of cut this out so you have your mark still. You want to save your mark. If you don't have it, it's a real pain to deal with later, to make the cut later. So now, looks like I didn't cut all the way through. When you're cutting little thicker pieces, you want to make sure you get all the way through. Okay, that seemed to go pretty good. We're going to be cutting the corners, so they're not as important to save. Oh, I cut on the wrong side of my mark, so I cut them out, unfortunately. That's annoying. So it should have cut on this side of them. So I'm just going to keep that piece there because I want to be able to kind of align it up. So here, I'm going to be using my mark, and I want to save this piece. So I want to make sure I save it, so I'm going to be cutting underneath it, right? So let's go underneath it, just so I don't mess up here. That's fine. Let's just go straight to here. Cut it again. Looks like it was a pretty good cut though. Yep. Yep, those are some pretty good cuts there. You can see I'm losing some of my marks, which makes this a little bit more difficult, and it's going to be extremely difficult here on this bottom one if I don't have a mark to work with. So I'm kind of just forcing this one back in here. I want to make sure I'm able to get a nice straight line. I think that's pretty good. Notice here I didn't cut all the way through because I wanted to leave my mark here so I can cut this other piece. Now I have my last mark here. This one I can actually cut clean off. There we go. And so we have my first card. Has some nice straight edges. It has the Made with Love by Kevin Tame. The next thing that I'm going to be doing actually is I'm going to be cutting the corners and rounding them. It's a tool that looks similar to this. I can't actually find my smaller radius, so if I cut this one, it would have a really large radius. I can show you what it would look like if I put it in here like this. It's going to be a too big of a radius, and so I need to get need to find my I believe it's 3mm radius or 3-point radius. I don't remember what measurement it is, but what I'll be able to do there then is I'll be able to round those off, and I'll have a nice card here. And let's take a look to see how it fits into a sleeve. It should fit pretty good. Yep. Seems to be just about the right size, and can be an ID that you can play. You don't have to round the quarters if you don't have a corner rounder, but it makes it look a lot nicer. Let's compare it here. This is almost exactly the right size, so looks pretty good. What I'm noticing here though is that I'm a little tight here on I don't have a lot of padding here, and so I might want to just shrink down this font a little bit and reprint this and try that again, because that is a little tight. I'd rather have a little bit more padding. The Steve one looks okay. It looks like I have enough room, but this Kit one seems a little tight, especially with the text here. Doesn't look horrible, but it might be better to make it a little tighter. But that's how you make cards, and I hope you enjoy this video, and it will help you be able to make your own cards, and so you don't have to actually go out and purchase them. Thank you very much.